and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. That's Alex Bagley. How are you doing?
I am good, mate.
Good.
Well, all right.
This is Paddock Live. We're going to be looking at the latest Manchester United news on Cristiano Ronaldo, updates on his future, and a little look as well at who we could potentially replace Ronaldo with should he leave. And there has been a bit of an update looking that he might leave, sort of coming from two different angles. One is rumours of a potential bid that Chelsea are supposedly about to make, and the other is from Simon Stone, looking at the way this has unfolded and the likelihood of Ronaldo leaving.
Yeah.
Get your comments in, get your thoughts in on Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. No, I'm not. I'm just like, it's one of them where it's frustrating the way it's happened, but we all sat here last season and said Ronaldo ain't going to be playing Europa League football next year, and it's come true.
Yeah, I don't get why it's taken this long, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's more the frustration. I think is that we've said in this channel and people have said United weren't playing Champions League football from April. They knew that earlier than that. There was a very good chance we weren't playing.
Yeah, well,
Champions League
certainly,
football.
let's say the 1st of May.
Yeah, the 1st
we
of
knew
May.
with almost certainty we weren't getting above Arsenal and Tottenham.
So if that is the case, if that is the reasoning, it seems a bit odd.
Yeah.
There are the reports of other stuff, and that would be completely understandable considering what's happened with the Ronaldo family over the past 12 months, that he wants to maybe move closer to Spain or something like that. But if it's a Chelsea move, that just doesn't make any sense. That doesn't fit that kind of that argument. So there needs to be a decision about this. There needs to be something happening. There was the stuff we kind of thought with the preseason tour, them flying out today, is that we'd have a good idea of whether or not he was going to be there. There's still he's not going to be going to Thailand. That's kind of confirmed now. So you're not going to see Cristiano Ronaldo in Thailand. He won't be there. So it's just a case of when does he go on that tour? Does he go to Australia? Does he get onto that leg of the tour, or will it be decided before then? It's a bit of an odd one, and I think the fact that it's come so quickly and the fact that United have put a lot of time into the Frankie de Jong deal, kind of put the Núñez deal to one side. It seems like they weren't expecting this, and that they were going to kind of go, do you know what? We'll keep Ronaldo and Anthony or Martial as your forward line, with Rashford maybe filling in, and then we'll deal with this next summer. But now it's dealing with it right now. Well,
let's have a look at this article then. So this is being reported across loads of different platforms. The way I saw it first in, I believe they're called Record in Portugal, and that is that Chelsea are now reportedly set to be preparing a £14 million bid to sign Cristiano Ronaldo, as it says here, as it's still unclear on when he will return to training. The London club is said to be one of the sides interested in signing Ronaldo, and I think that's been confirmed by a lot of people that Chelsea have shown interest in Cristiano Ronaldo. He still wants to play at the highest level of the game, etc., etc. Again, this is coming from a few different people, that Chelsea are preparing a £14 million bid for unsettled Manchester United star Cristiano Ronaldo, similar to the fee we paid from a year ago. Kind of makes sense. You're not getting much sell-on value because he's in his late 30s now, and you're paying $500,000 a week. We're never going to get a lot of money for him. That number seems about right. But on that stuff that I mentioned before about Simon Stone, which I think is pretty crucial, because it's kind of like, yes, we're saying we want to keep him. Yes, he's saying he wants to go. But what is actually likely to happen here? So Simon Stone said in an article that says, is the Manchester United forwards time up at Old Trafford? Simon Stone says, Man United let it be known on Thursday evening that Cristiano Ronaldo would not be flying with them when they fly to Bangkok on Friday for Erik ten Hag's first game as manager. Ronaldo has been allowed to remain in Portugal with United's permission to deal with an unspecified family matter. He also goes on to say that about an hour before Ronaldo's absence from the Thailand trip became known, a source who knows United well told BBC Sport that there was no chance of the player being on the trip. The feeling came from a belief that Ronaldo must have lined up a move, because if he hadn't, what erupted over the weekend would have remained under wraps. Another United source was of the same mind. They too concluded the saga will end with Ronaldo exiting the club after he arrived with such a fanfare last August, after they stepped up interest amid interest from Manchester City. For their part, United adamant Ronaldo's going nowhere, pointing out that he has a year left on his contract, and that makes him the highest paid player in the Premier League. They expect that contract to be honoured. Simon Stone basically saying there is the feeling around United is he's going.
Yeah, and I think I think the problem is that the feeling around, I think everyone here is he's going. We just don't know where. I think the Chelsea thing is, I don't think United will, take him, let him go to Chelsea. I just don't think it's the right thing for them to do. I don't think it's worth them money-wise to let him go to Chelsea. I think the PR of it would be horrific. If it was a Madrid coming back for interim, I think you kind of go, okay, he wants to go back there, close to where he's lived for a while. Okay, goes to Sporting Lisbon, makes sense. But these aren't options at this moment. There's no one coming in for him. There isn't that. Bayern is obviously another one that you kind of go, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
It's another league for him. He could potentially go and win over there, replace Lewandowski. It would all make sense. But that just doesn't seem like it's going to be a possibility either. So I think the reason United are being so strict on it, and I think they are open to it, is that they don't want to let him go to Chelsea, but they need to look, keep face of going. If something doesn't work out, if they don't manage to secure this deal to somewhere where they want him to go, they can go, well, no, we said all along he was staying, and we knew that. He was dealing with a family problem, and that was it. Yeah. And I'm thinking that's the case at this moment.
Yeah, United aren't going to come out and say, yeah, he's probably going to go, but we don't know where, we don't know when, and we don't know who will replace him with. That isn't going to be something United do.
No.
Talking about replacing him, let's have a look at a couple of options. We've got a little list of players here that I think we should have a look through, and seemingly the most likely candidates or players we have been linked with. The first one is Paulo Dybala, who is 29 years old now.
Can't believe doing this.
We've been linked with him pretty much. Well, apparently he's 28 according to Wikipedia, so I don't know where we've got the 29 from there. Yeah. But he's either 28 or he's 29.
He's 28 till he's 29,
or both.
Yeah.
We've been linked with him pretty much every season for the last 6 years in some facet or another. By far the sort of most famous, biggest name on the list that we're going to talk about. Let's just have a look at some of his stats. So he often plays as a second striker. I think a lot of us know that. More of a kind of deep line player or a creative striker, someone that will score you goals, but also is getting a lot of assists and taking shots from outside the box rather than that kind of poaching number 9. He doesn't get you loads of goals. He's a sort of 15 goal a season kind of guy. Last season, again, 39 appearances, 15 goals, 6 assists. If you just have a look at some of his other seasons, his best season was 4 years ago when he got 26 goals in all competitions. Other than that, it's been 19, 26, 10, 17, 5, 15. He's a high teens kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's not a prolific goal scorer by any means, but he's more than just goals. He does get assists. He's got 48 assists and 115 goals in 293 appearances for Juve. So he's an assist every 6 games and a goal every 3 games. He's a good player, but he's, like I said, he's 28 years old. He's leaving Juventus after being there for a very long time. Is he the sort of player you think United need, or is it just another case of it feels a bit Woodward, doesn't it?
It does. The $100,000 a week seems okay, though. I think when I heard that this morning, and to be honest, I don't believe that in the slightest.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a no-brainer. If you would get him for $100,000 a week for where he'd fit in the squad, I think that's a no-brainer.
Well, that story coming from DiMarzio saying that he would lower his wage demands and would be happy to accept $100,000 a week, which
sounds like he's going
I don't know
somewhere
if
else.
that's true.
He's not coming to Manchester United and doing that, considering you're replacing looking to replace Cristiano Ronaldo on $500,000 a week. Edison Cavani's left on $350,000 a week. He knows his mate Paul Pogba's just been offered $300,000 a week there.
Yeah.
It seems a bit of an odd one for him to come in and accept such a low wage at Manchester United. I don't see that happening. But if that was the case, I wouldn't be too much of a worry. If he was coming in on $350,000 a week, that 39 games last season worries me, because that's not a lot of games for a team that will have played a lot of cup games in that. That's a lot of it. That's a lot of games he's missed there.
Yeah,
where he's had a lot of injury. I think I've seen something before. He missed quite a lot of games last season for.
Yeah, he only played 26 games in all competitions last season,
which is that to me is quite a big worry. That is the injuries there.
Although in fairness to him, again, other than that season, it's been 46, 48, 46, 42, 46, 26. So you're normally getting at least 40 games out of him, which is a little bit better, isn't it? So,
but that's my worry, is that if he comes in on $400,000 a week, doesn't quite fit the profile we want, and whatever we're doing, he's not going to play. That's a worry. If he comes in $100,000 a week and he's a bit part player, the quality of him.
Yeah,
I definitely think he'd be a good option. Whether we get him for that price, I'm very sceptical about.
Yeah, me too. I think £100,000 a week seems like a a figure to get people interested rather than any truth in that. Also, there's strong rumours he might be going to Inter Milan as well. They've been linked with him heavily over the last few weeks. Basically, since it seemed inevitable that he'd let his contract at Juve run out, which he now has. We'll get on to a couple more players because there's a few very interesting sort of propositions here that I think a lot of people would be interested in. Matt Gwinnett says Ten Hag is a great coach. Young players putting work in. Alanga, Sancho, etc. is awesome. Malacia is a beast. Martinez's aerial stats are as good as Slabhead's. I wonder with that because they are.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're quite as good as Maguire's, but for a 5'9" player, he wins more headers and more headers per 90 and all that stuff than someone like Pau Torres, who's 6'3". So obviously his timing and his positioning are excellent. My worry isn't that he can't win headers because obviously anyone can win a header. It's that in those fine margin moments when the ball is coming in and it's him against Haaland in the last minute of a game, or it's him against Lukaku in the last minute of a game.
Him against Chris Wood.
Exactly. Against Chris
that's
Wood.
The worry. It's not just.
You just think there is a physical disadvantage there that might be hard to overcome.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he can't overcome it, but someone like Harry Maguire, I can't remember which game it was now. It was a cup game a couple of seasons ago. It might have been in the Europa League, where for the last 5 or 10 minutes of the game, we just sat back and they just pinged ball after ball after ball after ball in the box, and he won 6 headers in about 10 minutes, just ball in, winning it, ball in, winning it. And you just think, I would trust a bigger, taller player to do that, just because they're higher off the ground.
I still see Martinez playing midfield.
Yeah.
I still think that the bigger games he played for Ajax, I still think the majority of his time he will play in midfield. I think he covers elsewhere. I think that's kind of where you'll see him. Look, I still think you're starting full centre halves are going to be Varane and Maguire next season. Yeah, I don't see that changing. I think that you'll see Martinez in front of them. I think he'll play Europa League games maybe there.
It's a lot of money though to spend on what is essentially a backup.
But is he a backup, or is he going to start instead of Fred? Because if he starts in every big game there, and then in the other games he maybe plays in defence, he maybe plays straight at the back. Yeah. He can play a lot. It's a case of I'm not sure he comes in as a starting centre half. I don't think so, but I can be wrong. There's a good chance I am wrong.
Yeah, maybe. Fergal McClement says, "Do you think this window being slow is necessary to shake the stink of how Woodward mismanaged United?" I don't think so. I think the best way to shake that would be to be competent and speedy.
I think the only thing is that the kind of defence of it all is that this slow seems to be on Barcelona's fault rather than Manchester United.
Yeah, they're slowing the entire transfer market down.
This whole Frankie de Jong thing is ridiculous. You mentioned it yesterday. £30 million is a ridiculous amount of money to just go, it's all right. Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's all right. I've got a new club now. Who are going to pay me less anyway? I'm going to go there now. You can't just write that off. And there's a reason why he's dragging this out and wants that money. And you're right, it is dragging everything because the Lewandowski deal's meant to happen and go to there, and that's gonna happen after that.
Getting Ronaldo from
that
United.
Might be the Ronaldo deal. That might be someone else buying a player that means Ronaldo can go to somebody. Yeah. There's all these different things that can happen.
Bayern have to replace Lewandowski with someone, and then that club have to replace. And all of this stuff is going on, like you said, and all being sort of plugged up by Barcelona's
this Martinez deal that we've now accelerated, and the Eriksen deal that we've now accelerated, all seem to be, well, we're waiting on Frankie de Jong. And even the Malacia deal, wasn't that because United's fee that they've agreed with Barcelona is less? They have agreed that base fee. Yeah. And because they've agreed that base fee, they've gone, we've got 50 million quid for Malacia. So even that's delayed that transfer that's already happened kind of thing. So I'm not too worried. Again, my worry is going to be end of pre-season tour. We're going into that game in Oslo and we've not got any of these players still. Then I'd worry. But at this moment in time, got a lot of players back, and I think that it's still looking... I'm excited to see what Ten Hag can do.
Yeah, and the other thing is, United play Brighton on the 7th of August. That is less than a month away. So
that's a bit worrying.
That's a bit worrying. So, I know obviously this is the timelines have been sort of moved forward a little bit, but whoever comes in, whenever they come in, they are going to have less than a month training with Ten Hag. Mm-hmm. And now, the other thing is, Ronaldo isn't going to be there for the Thailand game. I would assume any new transfers from now won't be there for the Thailand game. So that's another 4 days they're missing. Then there's talk of not wanting to send people over to Australia because it's a long flight, etc., etc. That's another 7 days they're missing. Before you know it, even if we were like close to signing someone now, they might only get 2 weeks with Ten Hag before the season starts again. Like, that's just a bit crap, isn't it? And finally, before we go back onto some of these striking options, Glenn says, surely we can't get surely we can't get that guy who's turned us down a few times. If he came, it would be for a payday. I think he's talking about Dybala.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you two think we've got any chance of Frankie de Jong? Yeah, I think we've got a massive chance of Frankie de Jong. I think that will still happen. And James Wood says, couldn't be less interested in Dybala. Just screams of Pogba-type mentality. Rather move on from those sorts of moves.
Yep.
I think we will still get de Jong. I think they're dragging their heels, Barcelona. The rumours yesterday that Frankie would rather join United than Chelsea suggest to me that, this deal is still on.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's definitely there. I think it's just a case of they've got to figure these wages out. And I've seen a few people going, surely that, FIFA must be getting involved and going, you owe this lad a lot of money. Yeah. You need to just pay him that
surely
money.
It's the Spanish government. This is a private business who are refusing to pay their employees their contracted wages. Like, the Spanish government need to get involved in this, let alone UEFA or whoever. It's literally just employment law. Yeah. You can't promise someone money and then not pay them it just because, we're a bit skint, sorry. Unless they're liquidated, then they have to pay him. Yeah. Let's move on to the next player then. Jonathan David, who seemingly is like everyone's favourite sort of underground player. Like, from a non-top team, I know obviously Lille are a top team. They won the league last season, but they're not, one of the big teams across Europe. He's 22 years old, helped them win the league last season. Well, the season before, the one just gone. Canadian striker, isn't massively prolific again, but he's very young and obviously, starting for a team that's winning the league over PSG, you're doing something right. I'll just get some of his stats up very quickly in terms of his goals over the last few years. He's got 13 goals in his first season, which was the year before last, when they won the league, and 19 goals this season in all competitions. Again, he's very young, so you don't expect him to get a goal a game, but he's not hugely prolific. They're the sort of goals a 22-year-old Anthony Martial was getting for Manchester United at the same time. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think he's a very good player. Part of me just feels like he might kind of be flavour of the month, and people like him just because he played for one of the sort of hipster teams in Lille, and he's Canadian, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. I think why has he got so much hype compared to other players?
There's so many of these players that kind of come around and these are the next big thing and all this, and they've had a good season in France, and why don't all these clubs go in and buy them? Yeah, and then they go on a free to Aston Villa and they're just bang average. That seems to happen a lot. That's the pathway of a lot of these players that happen, where they are, like you said, the flavour of the month. Yeah. And, when all the big teams aren't buying them, there's a reason. That the Kamara that went to Villa, obviously different position. Yeah. But when all the big teams turn him down on a free transfer, something's not right. No. Someone scouted him and gone, he's not quite that good. Well, I know that he's nailed on and looked amazing everywhere, and everyone that's watching him from back home says he's amazing. But Aston Villa have got him, and all the clubs have turned him down and not got him. Liverpool need a midfielder, Manchester United need a midfielder. They've all turned him down. It's not just United going, we missed another one. No. These are all these teams. There's a lot of these players going around where you go, same as Malacia who's going to Lyon. Well, no, he didn't go to Lyon. He went to United.
But also, if you look at, I would say a relatively decent direct comparison between Boubacar Kamara. Yeah. 22 years old, French defensive midfielder, playing in the French league, relatively inexperienced at international level, but, getting a few caps here and there. His free move, he was available to everyone in Europe. His free move was Aston Villa. You look at Tchouaméni, French, 22-year-old defensive midfielder playing in France, relatively inexperienced on the international level, just been signed for 100 million euros for Real Madrid. Do you think if Kamara was in that same quality bracket, that Madrid might have gone, we wouldn't mind saving 100 million euros for this guy that's almost as good? I think people love looking at stats. People love looking at FB Ref and Twitter and heat maps. But I think sometimes you kind of have to trust the scouting on these people. I'm not saying Jonathan David isn't a good player, but I think sometimes people get this elevated status of the hipster's choice. I think we saw it with Mkhitaryan a little bit, with Kagawa a little bit. for some reason, Germany, and especially in the mid 2010s,
Yeah.
everyone that played for Dortmund was like the next big thing in the world, and most of them didn't turn out that way, did they? The only one that really had any success outside of Dortmund of those big moves was Aubameyang at Arsenal.
Yeah, and never really did it. But the thing with Jonathan David is he might come to another club and do a good job.
Yeah.
I think that him coming in and being the next big thing to replace Cristiano Ronaldo is a massive ask, and it isn't as simple as just let him do that and and spend the money on that. That's my slight worry with him. I'd like to see us sign these kind of players where it might not cost us. I think Jay mentioned it this morning. It's nice to see us being linked with players that are 15, 20 million pound that can grow into that look like they've been scouted well and the manager clearly wants, and we get them. That's what we want to see. But what I don't want to see is someone signing for 20 million pound and be expected to do what Cristiano Ronaldo did last season, which is what people will be expecting from him coming in, and he might not work out. And I think that's the kind of, you need to take the pressure off him a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And not everyone we buy has to have scored 35 goals this season before. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I was just looking at Lacazette's stats there. Someone who was an absolute beast in Ligue 1 when he was there. 22 goals, 31 goals, 23 goals, 37 goals before he moved to Arsenal, and then he never got over 20 goals for Arsenal. Yep. So it's a tricky transition. Moving on then, Gianluca Scamacca, who's a 23-year-old attacker playing in Italy. I think he finished 6th in Serie A goal scoring last season. He got 16 goals in 36 appearances. Big boy.
Yeah.
6'4". Apparently less of the sort of bulldozing kind of physical beast angle, more of the kind of almost like Zlatan style. He'll use his physicality to hold people off, but he's not a bulldozer of a striker. He's more of a technical, tall, big player than that. What do you know about him, and what do you think to him? Do you think he's someone that could replace Ronaldo?
You look at the goal scoring in Italy as well. Again, Lukaku came in being top goal scorer and was useless last season for Chelsea. Ronaldo he translated a little bit better, but not in the same way. He scored 25 plus and scored 17 last year in the Premier League, not in the same kind of way. Again, there's the link to him for PSG where he's going to be around 50 million. That one kind of seems more likely to happen just for, they've got more money than us, and they can spend more money on a risk like that. But at 23 years old, he could fit the bill for United, and that might be the right one to bring in. Again, I don't think we've prioritised this. I don't think we've scouted this too much. I think the one we're going to go on to next might be a better fit, because I think someone that Ten Hag knows what he's getting might be a better option with this kind of quick turnaround. I think everyone else that's come in, Malacia, I think he'd done his work on him. I think he wanted him, whether at Ajax or whatever. Same thing with Eriksen, same thing with Frenkie de Jong. To not have this base thing of, because I don't think United were scouting strikers either, before Ten Hag came in. So to kind of go, okay, cool, yeah, let's take a risk on this striker that we've not really done our work on, I think is a big risk to
maybe
risk
we could get someone on loan. Maybe it would be, because Scamacca's been out on loan for large periods of his career. Maybe he's someone that we could get on loan rather than a full deal or something. Again, but I just feel like it's stopgap after stopgap up front.
There isn't many. I think the two big strikers have gone already this summer. I think that's the problem. Your other ones are kind of towards the the end of the careers. Even Ronaldo, is in the end of his career, and like you said, stopgap.
Yeah.
The two big ones have gone. Haaland and Nunez have done their moves, and Mbappe's not going anywhere. Those kind of centre forwards, they're at their clubs. They've moved on. There isn't this talent of number 9s or centre forwards out there, and I think it's a case of, look, let's be patient a little bit. The worry for United is that without Cristiano Ronaldo, we have Anthony Martial, who obviously had a poor season the last couple of seasons, had a poor loan. We don't have anybody else. That's the big worry. So it's a case of, we've got to get bodies in there. We've got to do that. That's the only really problem with it all.
Another one is Belotti, who is again on a free, would presumably be a lot cheaper than Dybala. Excuse me. Has got a lot of experience scoring goals.
Yeah,
has been doing it for 10 years or so. United were linked with him. I remember 6 years ago, was it Van Gaal?
Yeah,
maybe.
With him
I think we're talking 45, 50 million then, which is probably the equivalent of 65, 70 now.
Yeah.
He's someone that's consistently scored goals his whole career. Didn't get many last season, but didn't play many games last season. He only played 22 games in the league, got 8 goals, which is just over a goal every 3 games, and it was 13 before that. But again, he's someone that would be free, so you're not looking at a transfer fee, would be relatively inexpensive in terms of wages. Would he be someone that interests you, or do you think he's a bit more of a, just below the quality that we need?
Probably just below the quality, isn't he? If he's only scoring 8 goals in Serie A, I worry a bit,
Yeah.
And to just say, oh, well, just any striker does the job. We had Igalo and that didn't work,
No.
Not just any striker fills a gap. You have to have someone with a bit of quality, because it's one of them. They can come in and do a job in the League Cup, and you think, oh, they've done all right, and he scored the goal against Lask, and you're like, oh, he's all right. And then you put him in the FA Cup semi-final, and you're like, he's not good enough. He's just not good enough. The level has drop off. I'm not saying that Belotti's that's kind of level, but there is a big drop off. And if you're not doing it in the Italian league, to come and do it, because if we do get an injury, or he's not quite fancy Martial, and you're playing week in, week out, and you're now playing against City, and you're up against Diaz and Laporte, and they just completely bully you, and you don't get a touch of the ball, there is a big worry with all that. You have to have the quality to do it.
Yeah. Brian Brobbey. Don't know what I'm saying. Is a 20-year-old striker for Ajax, who United are reportedly interested in, looking at rumours of around 50 million euros for him. Someone that I hadn't really heard of until a couple of days ago, and now obviously he plays for Ajax, so Manchester United must be interested. He's someone that we, like I said, looking at in the region of 50 million euros. I think it was 11 goals last season. 7 goals in 11 games last season for Ajax. Still coming through the youth team there. He's obviously very inexperienced, only played 11 games last season. Is he someone you'd be interested in? Or do you think surely we're not going to sign Martinez, Anthony and Brobbey or Brobbey?
No chance.
We're not getting all three.
He's coming from Leipzig, so the deal would be Leipzig. He was on loan at Ajax last season. Right, so you're kind of hoping that would be, that's probably easier to do. And again, there's that question of, is he good enough? He's only played how many top level games there? I think it's something like 30, not even 40 top level games he's played in his whole career. So that there is a question there, has he got the quality? The only difference with that is he's worked under Ten Hag last season. He's seen him up close. Yep. And if Ten Hag's been in training this week and watched Martial and gone, this lad I had last year who's 20 could do a job here. He could, he could be better than he could challenge him. He could be, he's a different option. He's something that we quite like. That might be the option to get where, again, Ten Hag knowing him. And people, again, this whole thing, we have been linked with, I think, 8 of Ajax's starting 11 from last season. And I think we've been linked with more. And we're also linked, obviously, with Frankie de Jong, who used to play for them, Eriksen, who used to play for them. All these different, there is this Ajax link. But there is something there of, he knows what he's getting. And when we haven't, when it is this signing that's been sprung on him where you need a striker now, to know what I had last season, to know that I've had him there, I like him, he's done this, he's going to be relatively cheap.
Benefit, isn't it?
It's definitely a benefit.
Can I say as well, he's
a unit.
Jacked. He's an absolute unit.
Yeah.
6 foot, which is obviously big, but not gigantic. His thighs and his arms are massive.
Yeah.
He's a very strong man. Well, I assume he's strong. He's got big muscles anyway. He's one of them where you go, right, okay, I'm going to have a day looking after this guy. Look at his shoulders.
Yeah, it's a different striker than we've got at the minute. We've not got anyone.
He's not Dybala. Let me say
he's not Dybala. He's not Martial, and he's not Marcus. Even Marcus Rashford. Yeah, he's a big lad there.
Fucking massive.
Yeah.
Rate thighs on him. He's a very sort of difficult prospect, I'm sure. But 7 goals in 11 games last season for Ajax. He has got 0 in 9 for Leipzig, but it's such a small sample size. I don't know how many minutes he's playing. He's someone that United have been linked with. Again, someone that Ten Hag knows. I got it wrong before. He's not at Ajax, but he played for Ajax last season on loan. That'll be interesting to find out whether he's someone that United are interested in. Let us know in the comments what you thought to him. If anyone's seen him, Mr. Brobbey, let us know whether you like him or not.
You can't say that.
Mr. Brobbey?
No, I'm not having that.
Just because Mr. Brobbey... just because Mr. Brobbey...
I'm not having
Alex,
that. No
just
chance.
because Mr. Brobbey is a 90s children's TV icon from the UK doesn't mean I can't say Mr. Brobbey when I'm talking about a man whose surname is Brobbey.
It absolutely does.
His name is Brian Brobbey.
Yes, it does.
And that is fine.
What's his middle name?
What was it again?
Well, have a look. You've got Wikipedia up there, haven't you?
It's his name.
Yeah.
Full name.
Yeah.
Is Brian
Ebenezer
Brobbey, and that's a good name.
That's a good name.
Yeah,
great name.
Brian Brobbey's nice.
Yeah.
But Mr. Brobbey is a fine thing to say.
No, you can't. I'm not having that.
Why isn't it?
We're not having that. And this is going to go against him. I'm
Do you
not
think?
going to... Yeah, it definitely is.
We're going to get Noel Edmonds to do the announcement video. And Mr. Brobbey takes his head off and it's Mr. Brobbey inside. How good would that be for an announcement? Who needs Stormzy and Pogba? Noel Edmonds, Mr. Brobbey. Do it! It's 15 million euros well spent, that.
Considering we put a piano in the middle of Old Trafford.
Do you know what I mean? Alexis
this
Sanchez
is
played
definitely
the piano.
not as bad as that.
This is cheaper. You can get Edmonds for 50 quid these days.
I reckon you could.
Yeah.
He's definitely on
He'll do it for one of those red boxes with a meal deal inside.
he's definitely on Cameo, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's definitely on Cameo, isn't he?
So, sorted.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that's they are.
I hope we sign him now, just for...
They are the current standouts to replace Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Get your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know who you fancy. Again, it's a shame because Simon Stone there offering very little in the way of ambiguity, suggesting that people think Cristiano Ronaldo will leave Manchester United and that there is some sort of deal lined up.
The only I've seen some other reports that he's not very happy that this has come out, that he's missing training because of all this. That it is a personal issue, and those reports have come out. And if that is the case, you've got to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. There's a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, he can come out and say something like this as well. When it gets to this stage, you as a player with your representatives can come out and say, "I'm missing training due to this."
Yeah,
with a little bit of ambiguity to what it is, but you can say it, and then go from there. Because look, I still think there's a chance Ronaldo stays at United because it is going to be such a hard transfer. There are only a few clubs in the world that can pay £500,000 a week for a player.
Yeah,
and if the only other one of them is Chelsea, I don't think United want to do that.
No, I agree.
What do you want to see? Okay?
Sorry, Alex Reed said he's probably a good signing. Probably.
What did you say about 15 million before?
Oh, well, I think 15 million is daylight robbery for a person that's only played 20 games. It's just a lovely name. It's a really nice name.
It's a really nice name.
It's a sort of letters in a row that you don't come to expect.
No, not many double Bs.
No, not many R's, O's, B's. Brobbey Wilhelm says, would we need to add more than one striker? That is a possibility because as it stands, I mean, I guess you include Martial in that because he's played number 9, but he has played more seasons for United as a left winger. United have currently got one definite number 9 in the whole club, and he wants to leave. Like there was an argument we needed one anyway. Yeah. Now we might need 2, so it's going to be interesting to see. I think Brobbey would actually be, or Brobbey, I don't know how it's meant to be pronounced, would actually genuinely be a good option in terms of being a backup to Ronaldo. If Ronaldo stays, Brobbey seems like the sort of person that would make sense. Someone that manager knows, 20 years old, so he's obviously got a massive room to improve if he does have that potential. But if he's the only, that is too much to replace Cristiano Ronaldo with a 20-year-old who's played 20,
The only other thing I can think is that the reason that the Anthony rumours have come out is because Ten Hag's comfortable of going, right, well, I can start with Rashford there, Sancho there, and Anthony up there as well. And between the three of yous, that's enough. And one of you will drop deeper, one of you go central. And that might be the case. If I've got a player I've worked before, I know he can play through the middle. Because my mate asked me the other day, why are we going in for Anthony when we've not got a striker? You know, it seems crazy. But if he's trained with him and goes, he'll play through the middle if we need to, and he'll do a job for me. He knows what I want out of that player. He'd move Tadic in there.
And also, let's think about it. I know, obviously, Real Madrid won the Champions League last season with a classic number 9. But the team that won the Champions League the season before was Chelsea, and they were playing Werner up front, who is a glorified winger.
And Havertz.
And Havertz, who didn't get many goals from last season. The season before, sorry. Yeah. He got a few more last season. The best 2 teams in England for the last 5 years have been Liverpool and Man City. For most of that time, City have been playing without a out-and-out number 9.
Liverpool play with a defensive striker.
For the first 3 years, Liverpool had Firmino, who is a defensive striker, whatever the fuck that means, and then they've swapped him out for Jota, who is a glorified winger. Yeah. You know, it's not out of the realms of possibility that with the right system, someone of the mould of Rashford or Martial or Sancho or Anthony could, facilitate enough goals to win you at trophies. That's, the same thing. You don't always have a 6'4" number 9.
Mentioned that with Ajax there. When Ten Hag had his most successful time, he had Donny van der Beek in a 10 who kind of got, went further forward. And he had Tadic in there as his striker, who definitely isn't a striker. He's played back on the wing again this season. So there's a chance that he doesn't play any of these players up there. And I think we'll see next Tuesday when we play against Liverpool. Well, whether he starts Martial is the big question.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me if it's Elanga, Sancho, Rashford in some kind of fluid front three.
Yeah.
And they kind of figure it out from there. And it isn't a defined, you're my striker up against the back four.
A good point here from James and O'Sheen as well. Maybe Bruno is a false nine. We know he's capable of getting 20+ goals in a season. His finishing is, I wouldn't say top class, but very good. Certainly, I think his finishing is as good as, other than Martial, probably anyone we've got available to us at the minute in that front line. His positioning is good. He can work back. He can bring people into play. I don't think that would necessarily be the worst thing ever. But
I think that kind of gets the argument of who does he play with, Van der Beek and Bruno as well. Because if he wants to play Donny Van der Beek, which I think he'll fancy because of knowing him before at Ajax, that might be the way of doing it. And look, we'll wait and see. Next Tuesday is going to reveal a lot here of who the players. The players have been back for a week. I think we'll probably have a slightly stronger squad than Liverpool. So seeing that, we're not going to have Ronaldo. We're going to see what the chances are and what the team kind of shapes up like and what he wants to see. We'll see whether it is a Bruno, Rashford, Martial, Sancho, whoever plays in that number 9 position.
Very exciting. Yes, we'll find out next week, and we will be in Thailand. We'll also have all the latest coverage from the studio as well. Anytime there's breaking news, anything to report, we will be going live. Yep. We will be bringing you all of the latest transfer news throughout the entire summer. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. Like I said, we're going to be in Thailand, we're going to be in Australia, we're going to be in Oslo as well. So make sure you follow Stretford Paddock, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well. Anytime there's breaking news, we're going live. So if you want to see it first, hit that notification bell. Thank you, Alex, for joining me.
Cheers,
Thank you for joining us at home. Let us know your thoughts on who should replace Cristiano Ronaldo if indeed he does leave Manchester United. We'll see you in a bit.